the Florida Gators. Let's talk about them. I got some poop earlier this offseason when I drafted some particular names over Billy Napier in our second-year coaches draft. That was before, by the way, the recruiting explosion tear that he went on in the that month of June and July. Just know that it was more of like a, hey, I don't know how secure is his job realistically going into this year. But now with that recruiting class, it's I think a little bit more secure than it was before.
Yeah,
You
but
lose
the thing
Anthony.
is like those players aren't going to help this year, right? In terms of like this year, like those players aren't going to come in like they're in high school, right? Like I think momentum's one thing around the recruiting trail, but in terms of actually translating that into the field and with your coaching staff, like it still remains to be seen with this staff here.
Yeah, and look, you lose Anthony Richardson, top 5 draft pick. Cyrus Torrance was a second-round draft pick. Probably could have been a first-round draft pick. Ventrell Miller, you lose on the defensive side of the ball, along with Javon Dexter and some other names. Guys you get back. Also, Xavier Henderson's another loss. Guy transferred away to Cincinnati. Graham Mertz. Boy, oh boy. And it's crazy because, and we do this every offseason with Graham Mertz.
Are we the ones that are crazy? Or why are we the only ones in the room? It's like, why are we not like Graham Mertz, like, believers? Like, are we wrong? Are we crazy to think that? Like,
it's just like it's happened too many times where like the offseason's like, oh, Graham Mertz is making strides. The offense is clicking. Oh, we're gonna be Wisconsin. I guess we're gonna be throwing the ball more, which never happened. Granted, it could be like they didn't put him in a good situation over there at Wisconsin, but it just felt like
okay. Sorry. I have to butt in here about Graham Mertz because as a Minnesota fan, right? I'm a student in Minnesota. Like I've seen Graham Mertz the past couple of years. Obviously, pretty close to the Wisconsin program with a lot of fans, nearby. But so it was just on Josh Pate's show, right? Subscribe to Late Kick, Josh Pate. Give me that chalice of supremacy. But the what's the Paul Chris told Pate and was like, we grossly misused Mertz. Like, I think he's going to be really successful in Florida. If you knew you grossly misused him, why wouldn't you change that? You had 4 years with him on campus, right? So,
yeah.
Like, why is that? Why after 4 years? Oh, we misused him. Now that I don't have a job there, now that I can't actually change anything about him, now that they're gonna figure it out. Like, what? And I get it, and I get he's got the arm talent, a former high recruit. Wisconsin's not known for throwing the ball, obviously, but they've had elite offensive linemen, they've had elite running backs, they've had great tight end plays. This whole time he's been there, they've had serviceable wide receivers. What is the problem? And if it's not Graham Mertz, who is to blame for his lack of success? Sorry.
Yeah, and well, this year, right? You mentioned like, oh, serviceable receivers, right? I mean, a couple. Quintez Cephas, he was a good receiver.
Yeah,
but I'm looking at pretty quote unquote serviceable receivers when I look at this Florida roster. Ricky Pearsall is actually pretty good. You lose Xavier Henderson, which is a big loss. Are the freshmen just going to get in and just play a bunch? Is that what's going to happen here? I mean, Caleb Douglas, I think he might get some time as well. He might start. Who knows? Jaquavian Frazier's might start as well. I don't know what this wide receiver room is going to look like for Florida. But all I know is that they also lost a lot on the offensive line. Underrated, they had a fantastic offensive line last year. Very underrated.
Yeah. Yep.
Like very, very, very underrated.
They're all gonna have a lot of success next year, whether it's in another programs like USC. I think has a couple. One guy had to retire, which was tough. I think obviously Osiris Torrance in the NFL, it's gonna play well. So yeah, they're gonna miss those guys.
Yeah, and they will. Now, running back wise, you're loaded, right? Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne are both all SEC caliber running backs. Awesome. You did great there. Defensively, I don't know. Can you convince me that they're really good defensively?
I'll say the coaching should be better. Is it Austin Armstrong comes in from Southern Miss? I think he's going to be the defensive coordinator there. I was really impressed with him. I know Saban liked him a ton. At Bama there, but I don't know. I think they lose Gervin Dexter, which is tough. I think they lose their leader, Ventrell Miller, which is tough. DBs, I think they kind of had to play a lot of young guys last year, and they kind of got their feet wet, right, in the SEC play, and they kind of got thrown in there. So obviously, hopefully, you have that year progression where the game starts slowing down for them. You got Jason Marshall, obviously former 5-star guy, really talented. Now is the time to put it all together for him, being an NFL guy next year. Devin Moore looks like he's going to be alongside him, another talented young guy at corner. Miguel Mitchell, who's a true freshman. Again, last year, another young guy coming to play in at safety. Him and Kamar Wilson. And then they got a nice little a piece from Michigan, RJ Moten, that can do a couple things in the secondary. Just seen a lot of football up there in the Big Ten. So we'll see. Depth issue in the defensive line is interesting. Cam Jackson came in, impressed. Tyrese Sapp, hopefully, taking the next step. But the front seven is where I have my issues in terms of high end quality starters, and then also that depth behind that first group.
Yeah, I lean under here. I didn't actually take the under. I would have felt better about taking the under if I knew Cam Rising's status for week 1. But this is honestly, I mean, this team actually, it's more talented, I think, than people actually think. I know we're giving it a hard time. I think it's actually more talented than people think. But if I were to take the under, it is strictly a Graham Mertz Fatatron. All right, that's strictly what it is, and it's business. I'm sorry, Graham Mertz. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's not like behind him is much better. It's not like you're like, oh well, if he doesn't play well, like they have a true freshman that can come in and play. No, Jaden Rashad is gone. He's over at Arizona State. Like Jack Miller is not the guy. We've seen that before. Max Brown, is he the guy? I don't know. I don't think he's ready yet. But yeah, I don't know. I don't trust that room. Yeah.
So are you leaning under as well?
Yeah, I'm leaning the under. Just the schedule at Utah tough. Even without Cam Rising, I think we already did our Utah breakdown. So go watch that if you're a Florida fan and want to know about. But Utah, we love the O-line. I think the O-line is awesome there. So I think without Cam Rising, you can just run the ball with that good running back that you got coming back. And without Gervin Dexter in the middle and like lose Ventrell Miller in the front seven, I think it's gonna be pretty tough to go into Utah and get a win there. And then all of a sudden now you're playing catch up, and now you got to steal a game from a team in the SEC that's pretty tough. And you get Florida State on the back end of that too. So like their schedule brutal. Like we second in the country is difficulty. Like it's no slouch,